All right, hello, welcome to Music and Widescreen on prog-rock.com. I'm here with Danny. I'll say Bou-Maroun. Is that something about right?
Yes, it's exactly right.
Oh God. Okay, that'll never happen to me again. It's great to have you here. Of course, we're big fans of the room, and I'm glad to talk with you here today.
I'm glad to be here. We spoke about the room a couple years ago, right? I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll have to look at the date, but when I heard it, I was super excited. I that hasn't happened to me very often, maybe once every 3 or 4 years. And you are back with a new album, and we want to talk a little bit about that album. I'm very excited to hear about it. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit about Ostura in general. Some kind of background information for people that may have never heard the band before. Now, when we talked about The Room, which is incidentally album of the year 2000, I don't know, 19 or 18, whenever it came out, for
18, yeah.
us, yeah. Um, you kind of want to disown yourself from the first album. Is that kind of still the case? Was it in a different style, or it gets a pretty decent reviews? I will tell you, the first album.
Yeah, the first album was released in 2012. It was like well, the sound was very, very power metal.
Okay,
And the reason why disowned is tough word, right? But
right,
we didn't want people to get an idea of who we are by listening to that first, because
right,
that doesn't represent us.
right,
Even though I'm very proud of it. It was our debut album, and it is what brought us all together and
right.
got us into this whole thing. So disowned is not the right word, but
Okay,
maybe. I mean, I heard some bands actually feel that way. Like I think, like Radiohead, for example, really don't like the song "Creep," which is, I think, their most famous song.
right, right,
Uh, and it's not a bad song. I like it, but
right,
they have they feel a certain way about it. So for us, the first album is very power metal. I mean, we were 18 years old, and that's the kind of music that we loved and listened to the most.
hmm,
And I guess that started to evolve with time. It's a
right.
good question to ask. How do we feel about the room? Uh, so I personally haven't heard the room in like maybe 2 years or
Oh,
3 years.
geez, yeah.
But I still think it's a great album. I don't think our first album is that good.
Oh, geez.
I do think that the room is still a good album. Obviously people felt a lot about it in 2018 when we released it. But we do have a different enough sound, I would say, for this
Mhm.
upcoming album for
Right.
me to not be in the same headspace, emotionally anymore. And this
Right. Right.
happens like starting track one. The first track starts to feel like, oh, this is kind of like the room. And then it's just breaking rules and then going in a whole different direction. And the album kind of starts talking back and saying, no, this is not what I want. It's a weird
Right.
relationship. And I think Elia feels even more so uh, like that. I think so.
Okay. Well, I know it's tough, to come up with something that moves the band forward without alienating maybe your core audience.
Mhm.
So, but you got to decide: are you an artist? Are you making new art, or are you entertainer and making stuff for your fans? So, it's always a tough line to walk. I assume for an artist such as yourself. And of course your first the room broke a couple rules itself. I mean, I love the dubstep, and I don't remember the name of the track, but
Track
um
10, yeah, The
yeah,
Surge.
the search has dubstep. Okay, well, it's just amazing. As a matter of fact, I went on a quest looking for more dubstep I would like. Didn't really find it. But it's one of my favorite parts of the room, actually. I just thought it was outstanding. um and
Thank
and
you.
and of course the breathing in the opening is super interesting. Kind of brings you right into. I kind of picture when I hear the first track, I kind of think of, like a headshot of the person that the main character, and maybe kind of zooming in to her into her mind, and then the kind of violin portion kind of is like, like the synapses of the brain. It just brings me right in, and I'm with you from the first measure of the album. And it's just such a powerful album, and I wish everybody could hear it. So you've got quite the following. This is going to be a difficult album to follow. I'll tell you right now.
Oh, we felt that way for the first maybe year or two when we were writing, because writing took the most. That's what we've been doing for the past 3 years.
Right.
And there was a lot of very like intense moments in the studio where I'm looking at Ilya, because we co-wrote everything together basically.
Right.
And I look at him and I'm like, the hell? Can I curse on this?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, and he would look at me, he's like, I have no idea if it's good or not. I'm like, I have no idea if it's good or not. And then like at the end of the day, it's like, well, do we want to do, something else? And then the answer was always, we can't. It's just, this is how we feel. And then we just trusted our instincts. And sure, I'm sure some fans are probably not going to like what we're doing, but I would hope that the majority will, because the essence of Ostura, of the last album, is still there. The style of writing, the way we think. Elia is singing most of the vocals. Yumna is on it. So like this, and then I'm recording with the orchestra, same orchestra.
Wow.
So there are a lot of similar elements. I just think that it definitely has like those moments, those rule breaking moments that we did, and most of it was just always, well, how do we feel right now? And then just we're going with that, rather than making another The Room. We didn't want to do that. It's like more of a risk that we're taking, and as we started arranging, recording more, like started laying down the guitars, starting thinking like maybe this isn't that much of a risk, because we're really, really happy with what we're doing.
Right. And I could just imagine, you're kind of coming off, like I said, we got some notoriety from the last album. And so I could see how daunting it is, especially for the musician. I mean, me as a listener, I heard it first in its complete form. Right. And I accepted it, and I thought it was outstanding. And but you had all this time for The Room to kind of percolate in your mind and see it kind of come together. And I'm not surprised when I hear that bands don't listen to their albums afterwards. I mean, it's you knew it in every variation of this album. Do you really want to be listening to it, especially when you're trying to be innovative and move on to your next album? But I guess my question for you is, when you were in the process of this new album, has it changed much from? I mean, how can you describe for a non-musician how the process goes? I mean, had some intrepidation, and now you don't. Is it because it's changed, or it's fully formed, or you become familiar with it, or what do you think?
Well, first off, I think it took about 6 months, maybe even up to a year, to get over The Room. Even after it was released, I kept listening to it, because just enjoying that final sound and like just happy with it. So
that's great.
That definitely happened. But when we released it, I thought like, this is the best thing I've ever done in my life, and I'm never gonna get over that. And then so, surprise, surprise, this is how I feel now for this album. And then
okay, great.
Who knows, maybe the fourth album I'm gonna be like, oh, what did I do? It's a whole process. So are you talking specifically about the songwriting process, if it changed, or?
Well, no, more about your journey of going from something like, what should we be doing? Is this really what we want to be doing in these intense discussions you've had with Ilya? And I just don't quite. I can only infer what you must feel, but I'll never know it. So I'm just trying to get a sense of, because how for me, when I listen to a song, it might take me 2 or 3 times before I listen to it. You hear it constantly in different variations, so you never hear it fully formed the first time. So unlike me, where I hear the final version is the first version I hear. So is it very daunting, and then becomes less daunting as you get more familiar with it, or is it just
It's definitely less daunting, because more of the song is formed. However, there are some big changes that that are made throughout the process, and it's always scary, and you can never really be sure when it comes out. So this time around, Alan, the guitar player, was a big part of the songwriting. He wrote a
Okay.
lot of the guitars, most of them, and he was like the second wave of composition with us. Like, it was me and Ilya coming up with the main idea and the demo and everything, and then we sent it to Alan, and then he would listen, and then of course, we're never really sure, like, is he gonna like it? And
Right.
because we're not sure if we like it yet. It's a
Right.
whole thing. And then his reaction is either okay or, oh my god, this is incredible, let me see what I can do. And then he plays the guitars, and then no matter how we feel about it, when we hear something new, like a new idea or a new change, like if we change the chorus, for example, and that's been done, we're never sure about how to feel about it until we like sleep on it the next morning,
Right.
wake up, put on the headphones. I walk outside and look at the view from, like, I live on like a mountain with sea view,
Nice.
and just try to listen to it with fresh ears. And then my reaction is either, Elia, this is shit, what did we do? Or,
Right.
I hope you like this because I will die if this isn't on the album. And then his reaction is either, yeah, I agree, it's shit, or sometimes he's like, what are you talking about? This is terrible. Why do you like it? And then, oh no. So
Yeah.
sometimes we find a compromise in the middle that we both love even more. It's a very strenuous process, I would say.
Okay. Well, I think the synergies is what that come from you two are probably maybe the magic of Ostura, and of course, if you have, it sounds like guitars are coming in later. Are they driving the melody, or does he have a melody line that he's coming into, or anything? Okay.
Sometimes, yes. Sometimes we would lay down, we would have a whole section, then we would say, like, well, Alan, we need the driving melody here. Do you have ideas for like a good riff? And then he would send us 10.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's good, because I think the more song, a lot of times, sometimes they say too many cooks in the kitchen, but I find that the bands that I really like Genesis, they're all songwriters, and you get some magic if everybody is on the same page. So
yeah, well, it's the thing with Ostura is that it's me and Ilya that make the final decision, and we both have to like agree. Like, if there's one person that feels very strongly about something, then we're like stuck for a couple weeks maybe or more.
Right.
But also Alan is very good at convincing us of things, because he's that middle person.
Yeah.
And then the fourth, I would say, like, strong member is Yumna, but she usually doesn't have a lot of like opinion on the music, mostly her vocals or other things. And every now and then she comes up with something weird that we didn't see coming. And then but it's mostly me and Ilya that take the final decision, which I like this process more than having 5 or 6 people have to agree on everything. I don't think we'll ever get anything done that way.
Right, exactly. You never get anything done. So tell me, were you gigging much of the room even before the pandemic, or after?
No,
No.
we couldn't. We each have our separate jobs, and
Right.
it's very tough to gig this kind of music, especially in Lebanon. And we had, before the pandemic, we had the economic crisis,
Right.
and then everyone was just busy protesting in the streets, which is a lot of what inspired us to make this third album.
Right.
Which I don't know if I'm ranting too much.
No, it's good.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I was curious about, because that was my segue into your Kickstarter, not Kickstarter, your fundraiser site, which will have a link on the video to. And it's been an amazing journey to 10K already. And I was just trying to figure out how that happened. I mean, I like the album and all, but I don't know how deep I would, as a listener, how deep would I go to my pocket for an album, the third album, So what do you attribute this great success so far to the fundraiser?
So I would say that a big part of it is that most of the people that pitched in, I don't even think really listen to progressive rock. I think they got inspired by the fact that we're a struggling band in Lebanon, and after everything that's been going on in the country, a lot of these donations, like the one right before this call, they're my friends here from Lebanon. We used to be like in scouts together, like we've been through a lot. And now they're in I think she's in New York with her husband,
Oh,
and like she just felt emotional, said like, "Oof, I want to support art in Lebanon. They're struggling. It's a war torn, I wouldn't say war torn, but
right.
we're like definitely being torn apart."
Yeah.
And so it's more that's inspiring a lot of people. And of course there's our previous fans from the room, which some of them are pitching in like $50, $100. There's some crazy people putting in like 1,000, which I don't even know. It
That's a
does, it
that's
does.
a good reward level though. Be featured on the album. Some people want to be featured on the album, it seems like.
Yes, that was one person that put that, and then we'd be happy to do that. I mean, the goal of this project is, to get the music out there as much as possible, and just to reach that, we had to involve people.
Right.
So what we did is, about in June, we came up with the idea to sign with a fiscal sponsor. I don't know if you know what that means.
Mhm.
It's a nonprofit in the US
Okay.
that has a nonprofit status, which
Right.
gives you some perks and tax deductible, stuff.
Right.
So it took about 2 months, but we found someone that did that and we signed with them. So part of the reason why also I would say that donations are decent is because it's tax deductible for US citizens. Most of
I
the
see.
people that I know are in the US. So like if someone
Right.
donates $1,000, they can deduct that from your taxes. You get like however much you pay, like I don't know, two or
Yeah.
three hundred dollars back.
Right. 350, maybe 300.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they're more generous than me because I never get to the minimum. I always get to. We have a very high like standard deduction,
Mm.
so I would have to give. I think I'd probably have to give 10,000 before my 10,000 and first dollar was tax free. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, okay, yeah.
So yeah, because you have to get to there's a minimum anyway. You should get always. So well, that's
Hmm.
outstanding that it's kind of been a potpourri of different types of people donating to this thing. And
Hmm.
so I guess so 50,000 is the number which we have in here, which is a big number. And I think I have to ask the question about um, does it really take $50,000 to make an album? And if so, how are people doing, putting out albums at all, right?
I wow. I'm gonna try and make this as brief as possible.
Okay, yeah,
It's gonna be tough.
I know.
Um, it would cost us more.
Yeah,
We've already started spending money. This is
right,
after we like needed help. There's already some stuff that we started recording.
right,
But we need about 25,000 to finish all of the audio aspect.
right,
And then we have to pay for the artworks if we want to do a music
yeah,
video, and then we have money for marketing,
right,
which is different from what we did with the room. With the room, we only spent maybe $2,000 for marketing, and
right.
we realized that was a mistake because the music didn't get out there as much as it could have.
Mhm.
So, and even after the 50,000, there's a part in the description. It said that the crowdfund will later extend, so it would be more money needed to do 9 short films. So a
Mhm.
short film for every track,
Wow.
kind of like a music video, but then it wouldn't be us doing it. It would be like a budget that we would give a director. And we've
Right.
already reached out to like big directors in the US and everywhere that would be interested to do this. They just need like a budget to film. So this is like a year from now, and we're already
Right.
like planning this because the music is, I would say, I mean, if you thought The Room was very cinematic and it like gave you like
Mhm.
images,
Mhm.
this is only that. If anything, it's
Yeah.
very, very, very cinematic. Um,
Nice.
we did something different with the writing process this time, is that we had a video running on the right side of, well, I have another screen here,
Yeah.
while writing some of the songs. So like almost every song has a scene from a movie that inspired us while writing.
I see.
And so we were like sometimes like looking to that scene to be inspired sonically and see like, what does this feel like? So I
Right.
think the final result sounds like that. And I I hope that people that are donating now will be happy that this is how it's going to sound at the end. I think they have an idea because of the video that we did is very like, you know, I would say it's a good edit and there's like some special effects and stuff. So we've always tried to be like more than just audio, but also visual, and that costs a lot.
Right.
Another thing about the money is that we are working with bigger stars this time, bigger names in the industry, and well, that costs a lot of money, you know, to get like singers that I'm not able to name at this stage. But
Okay.
I was like yelling at the top of my lungs when one specific singer, I mean, we'll announce it soon, but it's part of the marketing campaign.
Right.
When this guy said he was going to be on the album, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe he said yes. Like I've been listening to him since I was 12. So that's a hint.
Yeah. Great.
So yeah, so that costs more. And we're willing to pay that extra. So for example, I'll share something with you that's not quite public, but I think it's fine at this point.
Okay.
We had signed with a label 2 years ago, and they were giving us some cash to help produce this third album. And they weren't happy with the amount of money we wanted to spend. They said, well, why are you spending $10,000 to record a full orchestra? Why don't you just get 8 violins? We said, well, we want a full orchestra because it's going to sound better and bigger. And, you know, it's what the music needs. We don't want to cut costs with the orchestra.
Right.
So why are you using this mixing engineer who's 3 times the price as this guy that we know?
Right.
I said, well, it's going to affect the quality. We don't want to do that. So I don't know.
Okay.
It makes a big difference. Like, I'm pretty sure if, Steven Wilson is making an album, it's going to cost them something like $60,000 or $70,000.
Right. For sure.
Least, you know,
except that he can mix it himself.
He can. Yeah. He can mix it himself.
So I mean, I definitely get it. I mean, like I mentioned briefly that I just got through this with an album. There's an album in 1997 for Disciplines Unfolded Like Staircase. It's an unbelievable, great album with an awful mix. They made a mistake in 97, and I vowed to rectify it. And I said, guys, get the ADATs and let's transfer it. We'll take it to Terry Brown, who did 11 Rush albums, and we're cutting we'll cut no corners on this. We'll redo the art, everything. Don't just get it done right, and I'll write the checks, So I definitely get that. I get both sides of the argument, really, but I'm very excited as a fan that you guys are just doing whatever it takes to get the best product out there, because I'm telling you, you never want to put something down and then regret it,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, there's this, I don't know if people around the world feel this way, but I feel like living in Lebanon in the past 2 years really pushed this same idea in our heads that was like, this might be the last thing we ever do. Who the hell knows what's going to happen tomorrow? What if the country falls apart? We all live in different countries, which is kind of happening.
Right.
You never know when you're going to survive. I heard gunshots in the streets right in front of me. I'm like, fuck, I need to finish the album before I die.
Right.
Like, there's this whole
thing
that keeps knocking on your head, it's different from when I used to live in LA. 10 years ago, I felt like I had all the time in the world. Nothing was that, nothing was that important. And now I feel like this is the most important thing in the world to me. And I will do anything not to compromise. I will sell all the equipment in the studio if needed to cover the cost of the album.
Well, we want you to make money. I mean, we want to we want you to cut corners in the sense that you will actually make a profit and continue making albums, because like I said, this band is one of the most exciting things I've seen in the last decade. So and let's talk a little bit. Can we talk about, I'm not quite sure what we can talk about with a new album and what's embargoed is, can we talk a little, is it a concept album? Do we know the concept? What can you tell us about this thing? And even the name of the album, is that even released yet?
Well, okay. So one thing, we don't really want to make profits from this. If we do, it's going to go straight into like either marketing this one or starting to fund the next one,
Right.
But,
that'd be fine. That'd be fine.
Yeah. Right. That's what people want anyways. It's like, but nobody cares about my personal happiness. That's fine. No, but I mean, that's the least we can do, right? We're crowdfunding this music. We're not crowdfunding, my night out with friends. So
Right.
um yeah. So for the current album, we had a meeting before this call. This is the first time we talk about, this with on a radio show or
Right.
and me and Ilya decided that it's really like the fair thing to do is to not share any new information that's not
Right.
already out there.
Right. And
I mean, I can
I'm
talk.
not asking for anything new. I just want to get everybody caught up that people haven't seen the fundraiser site.
Okay. No,
Yeah.
it's definitely a concept album. It talks very much about I mean, we came up with the idea to write about this before it started to happen in Lebanon. Like it's an album about war, and this was before things start. Like there's a crisis right now in Lebanon, economic, political, everything, and it got really intense. And we started writing the music before these events happened, and then like the final track of the album, we were writing the music while like towards the end of the protest. And I remember being in the streets and just like looking around and like starting to hear this music that we wrote and just being fully inspired and immersed with everything. And so the next step or challenge was to make it relatable to people that are not living in a third world country.
Right.
And so it does talk about like the like war in general, and it also talks about the wars that we fight with ourselves personally in our lives. That we have the track list, I think, on in the description. Oh yeah, well, yeah, I guess at some point it's 9 songs will tell 9 stories of war and the toll it takes on our human relations.
Right.
So yeah, that's basically what it's about. It's definitely a concept album, but it's less of a narrative. There is a narrative there, but it's not as like tied to that. It's more of the concept itself. So for example, like Mother talks about a mother in a country at war and like what she goes through and like her relation with her son who's leaving and all of this stuff. It's very yeah, it's very much, it sounds depressing, but that makes for good music, I think.
Well, yeah. Any Porcupine Tree or Steven Wilson fan knows that, so that's not a problem. And so is there a timeline on the release?
The release is tied to when we finish mixing, because that's when, so labels don't, you can't really sign with a label if your product isn't finished.
Okay.
So it could be, we're aiming to, I mean, depending on the crowdfund goes, but we're aiming to finish in mid 2022 tops, hopefully sooner. And then after that, the release could be, within a month of that or within like 6 months of that. And that's not up to us. We're obviously going to try and push it as soon as possible because we really want to release this.
Right. Before you're dead, right?
Oh my God. It's a very weird concept to think about, but it's
shocking. It's shocking to hear. I guess for people that aren't in Lebanon, let me ask you one kind of question about Lebanon, because we all heard about the explosion there, but we never heard anything after that in America that I saw. Do we know what happened, or is that, I might be asking a very politically charged question, so you can drop it if the answer's not pretty cut and dry.
I'll give the very non-political answer.
Okay.
The investigation has been extremely on hold. Like they're trying to do an investigation, but the people that are being investigated are stopping the investigation.
Okay.
So they look guilty as hell and they don't really care. So yeah.
Gotcha. All right.
I mean, there might be some stuff like that we don't know about that's happening behind the scenes, but it's definitely extremely fishy.
Okay.
And
it was no accident though, right? This was actually sabotage, or is that not even known?
I personally don't think that it was.
Okay.
Like really, but I mean, the ammonium nitrate that was in the warehouse was not an accident. It was there, and that was a bit like clearly not supposed to be there.
Not supposed to be there. Okay. At least I have a little bit of an idea then what's going on. But so let's talk a little bit about some of the reward levels here too.
Mhm.
You can keep up to date with, just for $2, you can kind of keep up with what's going on. And then you could, if you kind of like what's going on, then you can upgrade to something like the $40 level is always great. A 4 week prior listening, getting it early. I always like those.
Yeah.
And the behind the scenes video content for 70, I really like that. And if you're a musician, you want the stems for 150. And
Mhm.
and hey, you can do what I'm doing. You can have a call with you here as
Yeah.
well for 200.
Yeah.
And Ilya, and let's get the guitarist in there. If you, I'm gonna make this. I'm gonna make this. I'm gonna make a new level for you. $210. We'll get the guitarist in here too.
Yeah, I think he'll be more available than Elia these days.
Yeah.
But no, for sure. I mean, the stems are they cost extra. Like I think like $1,000 extra just to have stems
Oh,
from the
really?
mixing engineer. Yeah, and we do ask for those because we use them in marketing and everything. So hopefully, we'll have people help pay for them because they
Right.
will love to. They would love to hear them, and there's a lot in those stems. I'm sure there is a lot in those stems.
Right. And
Uh,
if you're really if you're really feeling generous for a grand, you can get is it like a thank you on the physical product as well?
so the thing is, every reward includes the rewards before it as
Right.
well. So the thank you is, well, it's
Well,
not
the
understood what it is.
be featured on the album. When I see that,
Oh, okay, yeah,
I think of like special thanks to this person
yeah,
on the physical product.
yeah, for sure. That's
Yeah.
that's definitely there on the booklet because that's not a lot of people are going to grab that, and
Hmm.
there'll be enough room on the page for that. And then the
Right.
$500 customized audio thank you was my idea.
Nice.
It's going to be like, well, music that we would write, but
Hmm.
then like Elia will sing like kind of a personalized thank you. I don't even know how we're gonna do this yet, but I'm
Well,
sure we can.
you just
And
got to
he'll like,
you got to figure it
yeah,
out now. Somebody just went $600 here, so
yeah, that's well, they didn't claim the reward. That was just like,
it's true. It's
yeah.
true.
I don't
I
mind doing it for honestly.
yeah,
Yeah, but I think we have like a couple months, I think, before we finalize these rewards. Because right
yeah,
now we're kind of busy with 100 other things, and
I'm
it'll be
sure.
probably a few months before we have that in the mix. Hopefully,
Right.
not more. Mhm.
Okay. Well, that's exciting. I mean, I'm really looking forward to hearing this, and I'm hoping that this continues to grow.
It's been less than a week, I think, and we haven't paid any money on advertisement yet, which we're gonna do in the next couple of days. So
Oh,
this is just pure organic followers and people sharing it. So that's very encouraging.
that's wonderful. That's what I think you're
Mhm.
gonna make a lot of people jealous that you could just put out something and raise 10 grand like this. So I know a
I
lot
thought
of,
of that. Yeah,
yeah.
I thought of that. Like, is this too easy? And then like, well, we've really been busting our ass to like, have this kind of reputation, as you see,
Right.
because a lot of people are expecting this to be really good.
Yeah.
Hopefully they won't be disappointed this time, but the last time we didn't disappoint. So
Right.
yeah, I think well, like people have a certain standard. And
Mhm.
I think most of them, there's always going to be someone who's just not happy,
Right.
with what you do. And from the musicians we've worked with so far, and like I said, the artwork guy and everything, we have gotten like some comments like, "How the hell did you top the room?"
Yeah.
And I really don't want to hear that because it's like, well, what do you mean? No, it's a different album. It's different. It didn't top it, but it's also relieving that someone thinks that way.
Yeah.
So
Well, it'll definitely going to be highly anticipated here, and we'll make sure to have you back on once it's out. Maybe during that 4 week period where the early access is
yeah,
has been granted, and the rest of the people are waiting. So
for sure.
I want to thank you so much for spending some time with me, because I know how busy you are. This is like I said, none of your projects are you don't do anything halfway. You're all in. So
Yeah, we better be.
yeah. So I'm still working on that Chicago show. So you let me know when you're ready.
Yeah, well, we have no idea how things are gonna go after
I
this
know.
album, so everything's possible, honestly. I don't know
Yeah.
how else to say it.